Hello and welcome. Today I am joined by John Gambill with Go Concepts out of the Southwest Ohio area. John, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself and your business?
Hey, thank you, first of all, very much for having me on and giving me an opportunity to talk about the great things we're doing here at Go Concepts. Go Concepts is a managed service provider. We've been in business since 1997. We've
Ah,
done a lot of work in both the public and private sector.
mhm.
Quick background, back in the early days, late 90s, our municipality overbuilt Time Warner's cable implementation here. And out of all of the respondents to that, we were selected. It was the first public-private partnership in the country, and we handled the entire data side of that network for
Oh,
them.
wow.
Designing the connectivity for the school, the fiber connectivity for the schools, doing everything from help desk to all the back end on the data side, and then also designing and implementing a voice over IP phone system for that.
Great.
And great, it was early days of DOCSIS. If anybody has cable internet now with Spectrum, I call them Time Warner because we've been doing this a long time, but
Yep.
Spectrum, any of those guys, it's basically that. And so we started out doing a lot of that back then. And when we started doing that, some of the first DOCSIS equipment ever made by Cisco rolling off the line came to our office here in Lebanon, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati. And I actually
Cool.
have a cable modem from Sony, hand labeled number 3 in our possession.
Wow.
So yeah, we used to have some of the big guys, 3Com, USR, those companies that were around back then doing it would actually send out some field engineers to do testing here because the only guys doing it were Excited Home, Time Warner, and us, this little
Mhm.
company in Ohio. So we grew up on doing that and providing help desk services and troubleshooting um, all the way going back to 1997. And since then, worked with a lot of varying size companies from very small to very large, and a lot in the professional services area, banking, law
Mhm.
offices, healthcare, what have you. And then starting in 2013, we started focusing on the local government developmental disabilities community. So I'll get it out here in Ohio, and
Okay.
it's incredibly rewarding, incredibly passionate for personal reasons as well as professional of working in that community. And basically, we are an MSP that provides services to county boards of DD and any providers and agencies that are related to the DD community here in Ohio. Now, we're not providing services directly to the individuals that they service, but what we
Mhm.
are doing is helping those helping others and making it easier for them to do their job, making it easier for them to provide those vital services to those individuals. So it's a great space to be in. We absolutely love what we have the opportunity to do, and that doesn't mean we're not still doing what we did before. We're still providing great service to those customers that we've been, really fortunate and blessed to have obtained along the way.
Mhm.
But since 2013, this has really been our focus. It gave birth to IT4DD.com and some great content and things that we're doing in that space.
Okay, yeah, because one of my questions is, do you specialize in a vertical? And it sounds like well, I mean, hey, if you can find a niche and it works for you, then great. And then the fact that what you're doing is helping others, I think is even better. So being able to provide the services for the developmentally disabled communities or organizations and agencies, I think is great.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it wasn't a situation where we were looking for a industry or vertical to get into, like a lot of companies are
Hmm.
doing, and specializing in a single vertical for MSPs is a great idea, and that's a whole other discussion that we might be getting off on that tangent today. But for us. Um, we didn't approach it as, hey, we've got to find a vertical that we can exploit or that we can take advantage of. It's
Yeah.
really an area that we are passionate about
Okay.
in working with the developmental disabilities community, and I think they can see that the people that we are blessed to work with there. they can see how much our staff really cares about what they're doing. Besides the fact that they love, doing IT work,
Yeah.
uh, it is it's a labor of love for the staff that we have here.
Yeah, and it's a bit more rewarding too, right? Because
Oh,
just
absolutely.
instead of helping another company increase their profits with their through their IT, you're actually helping an agency increase their services to the people that they serve. So it's more rewarding, I guess, in that way.
Oh, absolutely spot on. We're trying to help them um, do the most with the resources that they have available to them,
Hmm.
and be able to do their job in the best way possible. And we do that through our experience and expertise and trying to help them apply best practices, but at the same time, we're listening to them. It's that
Yeah.
whole they ask you answer approach of, what do you need? What are the things that are going to help you? What are the questions you have? What are the ideas you have? They bring this to us, and we try to address all of those to the best of our ability.
Okay. Now, you said earlier all of Ohio. So, I mean, I used to live there, so
Yeah,
I know
go
it's a pretty big
Bucks.
state. Yes, Ohio State. So how do you, I mean, does that cover from, Cincinnati, where you're near, all the way up to Cleveland? Or do you specialize more in Southern Ohio, or just anywhere?
Absolutely, anywhere in Ohio. And to give you an idea, in our prior life, let's say, in the numerous customers that we've handled, we've had multiple customers outside of the Ohio area. We actually do still service some of those, in that
Okay.
cable world. We have some customers outside of that Ohio area. We do some work with some other companies that do projects in the county government or local government space.
Okay.
We bring in and provide the IT
Hmm.
expertise for them. We have some, really high level senior IT consultants here. And so we do support other outside the area, but our focus in the DD community is here in Ohio, and that is all of Ohio. And we're able to do that because, in the MSP space, when it comes to that, we're not a lot different than any other MSP provider as far
Yeah.
as, we all have services, we all have tools, we all have the remote part of the business and
Yep.
that proactive part where we're doing, 90% of what we do remotely. The difference is what we're bringing to the table, or as, that secret sauce, if you will, of what we're providing in that particular vertical and how we feel that we're doing it better than anybody else. I mean, our statement is the premier provider in that space, and we truly believe we are, and our customers tell us they feel that way as well. Um,
Great.
so for those times where we have to dispatch or we have to be on site, we have our SLAs for that, and we also have relationships through our peer group that we are fortunate to be a part of, with some very experienced technicians here in Ohio, that if we need that emergency dispatch, that we can put
Hmm.
them on site immediately. Few and far between, as many
Yeah.
MSP knows. If you're doing a good job and you have the tools in place, and you are very proactive and not
Hmm.
reactive, it's it's not the old days of putting out fires. We're preventing fires.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
that's the whole idea of going to the managed service part, right? Is
mhm.
instead of break fix, you're being proactive and making sure that things don't break that you have to fix.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, so it sounded like early on you got started through Time Warner and doing those build outs. So did you ever really do break fix, or was that not a concept? Or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's funny, going back to 1997, our company really started on, this was done on the placemat of a small dive restaurant that we used to eat at all the time. I think I once had 8 meals in a row there. I mean, it was like this local spot, and incredibly talented young man that I was working with. I was actually
Mhm.
advisor of Future Business Leaders of America at our local high school. Former
Oh, okay.
teacher, retired. We had a great relationship. He had me come in from the business community and had me take that over. Had the relationship with this young man,
Mhm.
incredibly talented. And he was actually doing work with our county as a network engineer. Was started out when he was 14 years old. So
Wow.
yeah, just incredibly talented. And he, once he was a little bit older, and he came to me and said, "Hey, listen, I've got this idea of what we want to do." Actually, it started another small company with a large group of guys, and we know how, that doesn't work when you have a large group
Yeah.
of guys trying to own something. And said, "Hey, I've got this idea." Back of a placemat over dinner, and business plan, and Go Concepts was started. So Go Concepts comes from G is Gamble, that's me. O is Oliver, that's him. It's Go Concepts. Dan.
Oh, great.
And so we started out early in the day. We were an ISP and a website design and hosting firm, like a lot of people were back in 1997. So we were
Hmm.
doing help desk and consulting and getting people on 56K, 56K flex back in the day, doing ISDN. We did DSL. We've done all that. And then when the opportunity came and our city put this out, and we were fortunate enough to be chosen, we put that expertise into that DOCSIS and cable world. And so a natural extension for those customers that we were assisting, over the phone,
Hmm.
was to be able to provide break fix assistance for them. So we
Okay.
did that. That's grown, and we don't do as much. In
Hmm.
fact, I was just looking at that today. Our break fix percentage of our business, as far as just walk in, is very small, but it's by design because we're doing so much of it. That time is dedicated
Yeah.
to rollouts for our MSP customers, whether it's laptops, desktops, repairing their existing technology, whatever it may be. But we do still provide those repair services for those
Okay.
customers that we service in this market.
Great.
Yeah.
Um, so, I know you mentioned earlier something about, should you verticalize if you're an MSP?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you might have some opinions on that. So it appears it's been good for you, in terms of, looking at, obviously, you didn't necessarily set out to do it, but it just kind of, it happened that way, and you found some passion, and that's great. But, what are your thoughts on MSPs that focus on verticals specifically? Like, maybe pick one vertical and just focus on that.
I'll give you two things on that. One goes back to where we were well before 2013, and some things that we were kind of working towards a vertical, and we weren't
Hmm.
intentionally working towards a vertical, if that makes sense. We were everything to everybody. And
Yeah.
a lot of companies outside the IT industry, I'm sure, try to be, but definitely inside the IT industry, because we get in this mentality of, we don't want the customer to talk to anybody else, right? We don't want anybody to touch them. If they need something, we want to be the ones to provide it.
Hmm.
And you can't say no. And when you can't say no, you start doing a lot of one-off projects, and you start committing a lot of staff time to learning things and investigating things and coming up for solutions that you may never use again, because maybe
Yeah.
it's something specific to that customer, or maybe there's just not a huge market for it where it makes sense to try and take it to a larger audience. So we fell into that trap. I mean, that's I'll admit that when I make mistakes, and we fell into that. We were trying to be everything to our customers. And so we had to sit down. We decided, hey, we're going to focus on what we do best. And that was providing, great support services, great consulting services, our corporate grade hosted exchange. We have our own in-house, in a world
Okay.
where people are going to Office 365. We have an implementation here, and we have our own data center. So it kind of makes us a little bit
Hmm.
more unique. We have
Yeah.
our own data center here, diversely routed, tons of bandwidth coming in, and it's been built since day one of our facility here in '97. So,
Hmm.
so we wanted to focus on what we did well. We're not going to do anything else, and we
Yeah.
stuck to that mentality. And we made the decision that if we were going to grow, that we were going to have to bring in somebody to assist us. So we were sitting down talking with a consultant, and they said one of the things that really kicked me in the gut, and it's stuck with me ever since. He said, "John, you know what? You are succeeding in anonymity." And yeah, so think about that. Hey, you think, hey, we're doing great, we're making money, and we got customers that like us and everything else, but nobody knew about it. Nobody else knew about it. We were really sure. We were
Mhm.
terrible at marketing, and we were terrible at sales. And and the bad thing is, I come from that background. I
Okay.
used to manage an office for the largest real estate company in the world. We were the largest in Cincinnati, got bought out. All of a sudden, we're the largest in the world. I'm managing office. I'm helping other agents, grow their careers and make money and doing a lot of that. But it was different in the IT world. It was just different. And we were really struggling there. And I was more focused on the business side of things than on that. And word of mouth and those things were doing well. So that really kicked me in the gut. So we made the decision. We had to bring in a partner, and we were spending all this time telling customers to outsource their IT to us and let us do it, right? That's what companies like us are doing. Focus on what you do well. And we weren't taking our own advice. So we decided we're going to focus on what we do really well, and that's helping customers and solving problems and coming up with great IT solutions for them. And everything else, we're going to work with great partners that are great in the field to do that.
Okay.
We made the decision to bring on an MSP partner. We brought on, we interviewed the top companies in that area. Made a decision to go with one. We didn't go with any of the others because they were bad. We went with one because they reminded us of ourselves.
Yeah, cultural.
And everything they were doing. We started working with Stuart Crawford and Missy Crawford and their team at Eulistic down in Florida, I think near where you are.
Yep, not too far.
Yeah, and we've been working with them since May, June of last year, and it's been fantastic. We really enjoy working with them. But long answer to your question, sitting down with Stuart, and Stuart looked at everything that we were doing, and he said, listen, you really need to focus on this vertical. He said, I can tell you get a lot of joy out of it. You're very passionate about it. Your customers seem to love you. And the things that you have in place seem to be really geared towards that. And I was incredibly reluctant at first. I'm not going to lie. I was worried. I was worried about, putting your eggs in one basket. I was worried about, a lot of times people are looking at a vertical that's pretty large.
Yeah.
Law firms, healthcare, whatever it may be. We're in the developmental disability space. There's only 88 counties in Ohio. That's 88 county boards. Now, there are many, many support organizations, but a lot of those are very small and very small budgets. So we are in a very narrow vertical. So if you're hesitant for a vertical, you can imagine how hesitant I was for a very narrow vertical. But we sit down and we talked it through, and the advantages were just too many. Standardization, the onboarding, the being able to easily train our staff to this is what we do and this is how you help these customers. And if we bring on a new staff member to be able to easily replicate that, when you started putting the reasons on the board, they far outweighed the negatives. And so, after a couple of days of, heavy discussions with that between our ownership group and with Stuart, it just became an obvious decision, especially when you weigh that fact of how much we enjoy doing it and how rewarding it is to our entire team to be able to work in that space. I mean, my wife is a school administrator. She's done a tremendous amount of work with developmentally disabled students at her school, with Project Search and helping place students in job opportunities and working with students of varying capabilities. So it's something that's, besides having family members in that community, it's something that we're just personally passionate about. And so it really made it an easy decision. And I'll tell you what, if we had to go back and do it 100 times, I'd do it every time over.
Okay. Yeah. But when you talk about verticals though, you talk about the fact that, Ohio only has 88 counties, right? And then there's other smaller companies. But if you just focused on the dental vertical, right? How many dentist offices within a geographic range would you be able to focus on? Would it be more than 88? That's
a great point.
So, when you say, okay, it's only this vertical, but when you expand out to, the entire state, then that makes more sense. Whereas if you were in a different vertical, you might be locked into your geographic area because other people are already in that vertical in other places. So, when you said that, I was kind of thinking, it's like, yeah, it's only 88 counties, but it's the whole state. So.
Absolutely. And again, that standardization, that ability to say that you are a professional in that area or the professional. For us, I don't know anybody else that is focused on the developmental disabilities community. So it's easy for us to say, we are the premier provider. We are we believe and feel we are the best, but I'll tell you what, we know that we are the best choice for any DD related organization in Ohio because we have experience with the software solutions that they use, the vendors that they use, how they operate. We understand that, and we can come in, and that's the really cool thing, when you're dealing with these local governments, a lot of times they have their own internal IT. Maybe it's somebody that's been there for a long time. So we can come in and fit wherever they want. So we can come in as your full managed IT, outsource, give it to us, soup to nuts, A to Z. We're your IT company. So that works in a situation where maybe they're working with, maybe some of the counties have a data board that kind of handles, IT for everybody in the county. It's not specific to them, or maybe they have somebody that's retiring, or maybe they have a single local person that's doing IT for them that just can't handle them at the size they're at, or that's retiring. They can bring us in a situation. We can hit the ground running because, hey, we're the experts in the DD space. We don't have to learn their business, their organization or operations. We can come in and we're ready to go. Now, of course, each of them do things a little bit differently, but at the base, we understand what they need, and we can come right in and we can say, hey, here's what this county's doing. Here's what this county's doing. Here's what this support organization is doing that'll work for you. So we're able to come to, or the other cool thing is, so they do have an IT staff, maybe a single person, maybe a couple of people. We can come in a co-managed IT situation, and we can be their IT team, right? So if you have one person, that person takes vacations, they get sick, they a lot of times are overwhelmed dealing with the issue of the day, and important things get moved to the back burner. It's going back to that putting out fires instead of preventing them. Just because there's only so many man hours, and one person can only ever know so much. We're able to come in and apply an entire team with a breadth of knowledge that far exceeds what one person could know. I don't have one person on my team that knows everything. So, and we're available, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365. We have systems in place, and we're able to make them the absolute best they can be at their job. And what we actually have found is when we come into those situations where somebody's reluctant, or they see us as a threat, like, oh, you're just trying to get rid of me, or, hey, I'm going to lose my job. They actually find they become more valuable to the organization because they help manage the relationship, but they also shift into more of a strategy and policy role of how IT drives their organization and how it leads initiatives there. So they're really spending their time and looking, hey, how can we get more out of our IT? There's this cool thing out there. I need, we'll talk to the Go Concepts guys and see, how we can integrate this in, instead of spending all their time, fixing issues that people log into this or can't use that, or my mouse quit working, or those things that really dominate their time. So we give them a team. And we give them the opportunity to take back control of their IT department instead of being, beholden to it and having to handle those issues every day. So that's a huge help.
Yeah, so a couple episodes ago, actually, episode 33, I'd love you to listen to it. I talked to Bob Coppage, who is in Northeast Ohio. Doesn't focus on your vertical, but he's actually writing a book on co-managed IT. Because they have found huge success in working with IT departments to help them, like you said, co-manage everything you just described, right? That you become an advocate for them, or they become an advocate for you, and he said it's helped them increase their business tremendously. So.
Oh, absolutely. They definitely should not see an MSP in any industry, not just in our vertical, should not see a managed service provider as an adversary. They should not see them as trying to replace them. And if they're trying to do that, it's going to be obvious. You're going to see. You're going to know, and that's one of the questions they should ask coming into it. Is how do you see this relationship? How does this work? And if they're honest with them, they're going to tell them that we're going to take over these mundane, if you will, duties, and allow you to handle these other areas.
Sure.
And this is what we've seen. And we'll let them talk to anybody. We don't cherry pick our customers. They can talk to anybody at any level, whether it's a superintendent, whether it is a financial officer, business manager, IT specialist, IT manager, individual employee. Call and talk to anybody and see how the relationship works with us and what
Hmm.
they think about us. And we think that they will be fairly impressed, especially when it comes to on the IT side. I know I've got one gentleman now in South Central Ohio that I saw at a conference up in Columbus with a group called Ohio Association of County Boards, Ohio OACB,
Hmm.
great group that everybody belongs to. We were at their conference, and he was incredibly reluctant, and spoke to him and their superintendent there, and he's like a huge advocate now. I mean, we're an advocate for
Awesome.
him. He's a huge advocate for us because he's seen how much better it has not only made them, but it's made him, because now all of a sudden all those projects that he wanted to do, that they wanted to do,
Yeah.
they can get done now.
Yep.
Because they have the manpower, they have the resources to be able to get it done. He can oversee it. We throw the horsepower to it and make it happen,
Hmm.
and then he's moved on to the next big thing for their organization. So it's really a symbiotic relationship. So that's
Yep.
great. That I wasn't aware of the book, so I'm definitely going to reach out on that. So
But he hasn't written it yet. I think it's going to be released this spring.
awesome,
But we talked
awesome,
about it a little bit in the episode. But
much needed.
yeah, yeah. So fun guy too to talk to. See if you ever meet him.
Yep.
um, okay, so just kind of a couple of other quick things here
Yeah.
before we go. What do you think is the best part about being in managed services?
Oh, the best part. I'll tell you, I kind of touched on, the personal side of it, the passion side of it, and I could give you you know, the platitudes of MSPs and everything. But I'll just tell you, for us, what I think is the best part of being in managed services is, we're IT guys. We like things standardization, right? We
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
details, and we like things to be done a certain way. I mean, at least we do it. If we did, my operations guy would be going crazy. So, but yeah, so I think the things that we really like about being in the managed space is it allows us to standardize our operations, and it really allows us to get the best out of our people, right?
Hmm.
Instead of just having a help desk and they're working on this very different type of issues and different customers, they can really focus in on what they love to do. It doesn't mean that they don't have a varied experience and a varied issued day when they're dealing with different customers, but they can focus themselves in on a higher level, and of how we've got our support broken down on our L1, L2, L3,
Hmm.
and that it allows us to better place our assets, and our best assets are really our employees.
Yeah.
That's a big thing that you see a lot of people say, hey, the most important thing in your business is your customers, and customers are important. They are extremely important.
Yeah.
Pay the bills, right? But the most important thing in your business is your employees.
Yeah.
It really is. They're the first line. They are the people that are carrying the banner for you every day, and they're really the people that decide, where we go.
Hmm.
Leadership might think that they're steering the ship, but they're really just the ones that are kind of providing the direction, if you will. It's those great employees that are on the front line that are steering it and decide where we go. So you got to take care of them, and you got to give them opportunity
Yeah.
to do the things that they love to do. And I think being an MSP gives us the opportunity to do that for them.
Okay. Great. So we're to our rapid fire round now.
Oh,
So are you ready for this?
I'll do my best.
It's really easy. It's 6 questions, and you just blurt out your answer. So are you ready?
Hey, as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay. Here we go. It's easy. First up, Apple or Android?
Apple,
Mac, Linux, or Windows?
Windows,
Amazon, Azure, or something else?
something else because we have our own data center.
I was wondering if you'd say that.
Hey, the Go Concepts private cloud.
Okay. Backups, local, cloud, or both?
Combination or hybrid.
Okay. Should you always virtualize? Yes or no?
Great question. Just did a blog on that. It's not really yes or no to us. It really
Hmm.
depends. And again, that is a hybrid cloud may be the best solution. Personally, I think virtualization is a huge benefit. So if it's a yes or no, I'm going to say yes.
Okay. And then finally, which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Great question. Absolutely, hands down. I would get killed if I didn't answer this correctly. Printer support, because
Okay.
vendor calls can go to voicemail.
That's a good one. Vendor calls can go to voicemail. Printer support can't.
Yeah, but hey, don't get me wrong, vendors out there. We need our vendors. We need great
Yep.
vendors. And I think a lot of times people focus on too much of how their vendors can help them. And you really need to flip that around and see how you can help your vendors.
Mhm.
And if you do that, if you can see how you can help them make their number, you'll be surprised at the help and support that you get from them.
Yeah. Great advice on working with vendors.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground.
I
Anything
talked a
else?
lot, sorry.
No, that's all right. Anything else before we leave here? Any
Um,
advice you want to give out?
the best advice that I can give you is, what I gave students when I was working with them, and on a regular basis there with the Future Business Leader Group, and what I give to my two sons is find something that you're passionate about, and work extremely hard to be successful at it, because that hard work's not going to guarantee success, but it is going to give you a much better opportunity at it. And that's really all you can control is your own effort. So find what you're passionate about, work as hard as you can to make it a success.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much. This has been great.
Thank you. Pleasure's been all mine.
And hopefully I'll get to meet you face to face one of these days.
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you ever do get back to Ohio, not this time of year, obviously, but if you get back up here, especially if you're a Columbus guy, we got those Buckeyes. I'm blessed to have a son in the best damn band in the land.
Awesome.
So, if you get back up here, maybe we can check that out.
All right, sounds good.
So,
Thanks a lot.